I left my phone at the repair shop by accident. I'd gone to pick up the car that had been there all week, and in the middle of talking to the mechanic, I forgot the phone on the counter. Stupid thing. I went back 10 minutes later. Just 10. When I walked in, the radio was still playing the same song, but the sound that froze me didn't come from it. It was a muffled laugh I knew from a mile away. Scene 1. I still feel ashamed telling this. Not ashamed of her. Not ashamed of the mechanic. Ashamed of myself. For being the last one to know. For pretending everything was fine while the whole world around me had already flipped. For smiling next to someone who'd erased me a long time before. Sometimes, when I'm alone, I close my eyes and still hear that song playing on the shop's radio. I don't remember the name, don't remember the lyrics, but I remember how it stuck in my head like the soundtrack of the end. And I remember the laugh, muffled, intimate, way too familiar. I'd gone to get the car. Simple thing. It had been there all week to fix some annoying noise she complained about every day. In the middle of talking to the mechanic, I left my phone on the counter, didn't even notice. Signed what I had to sign, grabbed the keys, and left. On the way out, I felt something was missing. That empty pocket feeling, that weird lightness in your hand. I stopped at a red light and tapped my pockets. Nothing. That's when it hit me, the phone. I'd forgotten it. 10 minutes. Just 10. If I'd known those 10 minutes would be the dividing line between the before and after, I would have left that phone there forever, but I didn't know. So I went back. I went back thinking I'd just grab the phone and leave. Went back thinking the day was ordinary. Went back thinking my marriage was solid. Funny how you can be completely wrong about your own life and not have the slightest clue. When I pushed the gate open again, the radio was still playing. The same song. Like time hadn't moved at all. I walked in slowly, the oil-stained cement floor reflecting the weak afternoon light. No one at the counter. My phone was there, exactly where I'd left it. I was just gonna pick it up and go. That was it. But before I grabbed it, I heard it. A quiet laugh. One I recognized. And my whole body froze before my brain even knew why. Scene 2. Before everything fell apart, we had a routine. Nothing like a movie. Nothing like a butter commercial. But it was ours. And I liked it. Really liked it. She always woke up before me. I'd hear the faucet turning on slowly, the coffee maker groaning to life. Sometimes the low sound of a song on her phone. The kind she never showed me because she said I'd say it was cheesy. I'd stretch, still half asleep, with that warm feeling of being home, of having someone. And I'd think, a little dumb, a little satisfied. Everything's all right, I'm doing okay. She'd walk into the bedroom with 2 mugs in her hands, hair wet and tied up any old way, wearing one of my old shirts that was too big on her. I loved that. Loved the way she moved around the house like it was hers too. Because it was, "How long are you going to stay in bed?" she'd ask, with that half smile of hers. "Until you give me a reason to get up." She'd roll her eyes, but I could see she liked it. We split everything. Bathroom, dishes, bills. I complained about my boss. She complained about traffic. We laughed at the same jokes. We watched shows we barely paid attention to, just for the ritual of being there together on the couch, legs tangled. Sometimes she'd rest her head on my shoulder and stay quiet like that, breathing slow. And I'd think that was enough. That was love. She was the kind of person who drew attention without trying. It wasn't her body. It wasn't her clothes. It was the way she talked, the way she looked straight into your eyes, the way she laughed loud and easy, without shame. She had this thing that made people feel important. I liked when someone complimented her and I could think, quietly, with stupid pride, yeah, she's my wife. Today, that sentence hits differently, like I'd been showing off something that wasn't mine anymore, and I didn't know. Like I'd been walking around for months with a sign on my back saying idiot, and everyone saw it but me. Her car always had problems. Weak battery, random lights on the dashboard, weird noises in the engine. Always something. "This car is gonna kill me," she'd say in that dramatic way of hers. And we always went to the same repair shop. It was close. It was trustworthy. The mechanic was a good guy, or at least I thought so. A dusty half-roofed shop, smell of grease mixed with burned coffee, old radio stuck on the same station. The mechanic talked softly, always had dirty hands, but had a reputation for being honest. I trusted him. I'd leave the car there, leave her there sometimes to handle things, thinking everything was under control. Thought he was just the car guy. Someone who fixed problems, nothing more. He was never a threat in my mind. Funny how now, when I close my eyes, I can see every time they were alone and I didn't care. Every time she said, "I'm taking the car in," and I just nodded, distracted, thinking everything was normal. Every time she came back smelling like grease and I thought it was just because she'd stood near the engine. Memory is cruel. It shows you what you lost when you still had time to save it. And it makes you watch it all again in slow motion, knowing exactly where the first cracks showed up. There was one morning, months before everything blew up, when she was getting ready to leave. I asked, without thinking, "Where are you going?" "Repair shop. The car's making a weird noise again." "You want me to go with you?" She hesitated. Just a second, but enough for me to notice. "No need. It's quick. You've got that report to finish, right?" I did, and I let it slide. She left with her hair done nicer than usual, wearing a perfume I didn't remember her using before. But I didn't think anything of it. I just thought she looked pretty, and I felt lucky. How can someone be so blind? Scene 3. The cracks didn't show up all at once. They showed up slowly, in tiny things anyone would call paranoia. But paranoia has a way of being true, right when you least want to believe it. Her phone started staying face down more often. Not always, not obvious, but enough times that I started noticing. Notifications lit the screen. She'd glance quickly, type something, then delete the chat, like it was urgent, but not something I needed to know. One night, lying in bed, the room dark, only the streetlight coming through the window, her screen lit up next to me. I caught a glimpse of a name, couldn't read it fully, but it was a guy's name. I know because it had a tools emoji next to it. A wrench, I think. She turned her body away, instinctively protecting the screen, like a reflex. She realized I'd seen her turn and laughed, nervously. "Work," she said, too fast. "At this hour?" "Yeah. People message any time. You know how it is." I didn't know, but I pretended I did. "You've been really suspicious lately," she said, half annoyed, half defensive. "Relax." I laughed too, just out of reflex, out of not wanting to be the controlling husband, the insecure guy. But inside me, something lit up. A red light blinking quietly, stubbornly. I started noticing other things. She spent longer in the shower, changed clothes twice, sometimes 3 times before going out. Checked her phone in the middle of conversations with me, like she was waiting for something more important than whatever I had to say. One day she put on perfume before going to deal with the car. Perfume. To go to a repair shop. "You smell nice," I said, trying to sound casual. "Oh, really? Didn't notice. Must be the new lotion." But it wasn't. It was perfume. The same one she wore when we went out to dinner. I felt dirty just for being suspicious. Caught in this weird line between something's wrong and I'm losing my mind. The line was so thin that some days I crossed to both sides within hours. Many times I thought, "Stop. You're not that kind of husband. Trust her. She loves you. She always said she loves you." But then another weird moment came the next day, and it all became a painful, exhausting loop. There was a Friday she came home late. Really late. Almost 10 at night. Said she'd stop by a friend's house after work. Which friend? Julia. I knew Julia. We'd gone out with her and her husband a few times. Later that night, without meaning to, or maybe meaning to, I don't know, I opened Julia's social media. She'd posted a picture at a restaurant downtown, captioned, "Date night with my love," time-stamped exactly when my wife said she was at her place. I closed the app. Felt my stomach twist. Did the dishes listening to the faucet drip, hands shaking lightly, feeling the heavy silence between us like a third person in the room. She was on the couch, phone in hand, smiling at the screen. "What are you laughing at?" I asked, trying to sound interested, not suspicious. "Oh, nothing." A meme. But she didn't show me. Love shouldn't hurt like that. Shouldn't make you scared of asking questions. Shouldn't make you feel stupid for wanting the truth. I started thinking about doing something more active, not invasive, not abusive, but something. To test it. To see if I was actually losing my mind or if she was hiding something. I thought about checking her location history, but the idea made me disgusted with myself. Thought about asking straight up. But I was scared of the answer. Scared that if she said, "No, everything's fine," I'd have to believe it. And even more scared that if she told the truth, I wouldn't know what to do next. So I stayed in limbo. Watching. Waiting. Hoping I was wrong. But deep down, way deep, I already knew. I just didn't want to admit it. Scene 4. At some point, I started blaming myself. I'd think, maybe the problem is me. Maybe she's distant because I'm boring, tired, checked out. Instead of confronting her, I did the opposite. I tried to be kinder, more present, bought flowers for no reason, suggested going out to dinner, asked about her day with more interest. In practice, I was trying to buy the certainty that she wouldn't do to me what I'd seen happen to other people. But it didn't work. She'd smile, thank me. But there was this glass layer between us, like I was outside and she was inside a box. One night, lying in bed, I asked, "Are we okay?" She took a while to answer. "Why wouldn't we be?" "I don't know. You seem distant." She sighed. "I'm just tired. Work. Stress. Nothing big." I wanted to believe her, but her voice had something different in it. Something I couldn't name. That night, I stared at the ceiling, listening to her breathing next to me. And I wondered if it was possible to love someone and still feel like you were losing them without understanding how. Scene 5. When something really breaks, you go back to the beginning. Not because you want to, because your brain insists on showing you what you lost while there was still time to fix it. I started having flashbacks. Memories I didn't ask for, but that showed up on their own, out of nowhere. In traffic, in the shower, lying in bed. As if my mind had made a movie of our best moments and decided to play it on loop, just to remind me how much it hurt now. I remembered our first date. We met at a mutual friend's party. I didn't want to go. I was tired, had worked all day. But he pushed so much I went just to avoid hearing him complain later. She was near the drinks table, laughing loudly at some joke I didn't hear, but her laugh cut through the whole party noise. One of those laughs that makes everyone look, not because it's fake, but because it's real. She'd throw her head back, unashamed, unfiltered. I was staring without trying to stare, meaning I looked ridiculous, because she caught me. Our eyes met. She smiled. Not a polite smile. A smile of someone who knows exactly the effect she has. And I, idiot, smiled back. We talked all night. About nothing and everything. She was funny, sharp, a bit sarcastic. I loved the way she played with her hair when she got excited talking about something. Loved how she looked straight at me, without looking away. Like she really cared about what I was saying. By the end of the night, when the party was thinning out, I offered her a ride. She said yes. In the car, with the music low, she took off her shoes and put her feet on the dashboard, completely at ease. "You always drive listening to this type of music?" she asked, with that half-smile. "What type?" "I don't know. Melancholic. Like an indie movie soundtrack." I laughed. "And you always take your shoes off in other people's cars?" "Always," she said. No shame at all. That's when I knew I was gonna fall for her. And I did. Way too fast, way too hard. I remembered the first night she slept at my place. We'd gone to the movies, then a bar, and suddenly it was 2 in the morning. She lived far, so I offered she stay. She said yes, but got a little shy, like she'd just realized it was getting serious. I lent her one of my shirts to sleep in. She came out of the bathroom with wet hair, wearing that oversized shirt, and I thought, this is what I want for the rest of my life. We lay down on opposite sides of the bed with a safe space in the middle. But in the middle of the night, without talking about it, without trying, we moved closer. She rested her head on my chest, and I wrapped my arm around her slowly. like it was the most natural thing in the world. I listened to her breathing get slower, deeper, felt her body soften against mine, and I thought, half dumb, half emotional, I could do this every day. It was raining that night. I remember because the sound of the rain hitting the window was almost hypnotic. And I remember thinking that moment, her there, with me, was the safest thing I'd ever felt. In the morning, I woke up before her, looked at her sleeping for a few minutes, afraid to move and wake her. The sun was coming through the window, lighting up half her face, her mouth slightly open, hair messy, no makeup, no pose. She was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. I got up quietly, made coffee. The smell filled the apartment. She showed up in the kitchen a few minutes later, still wearing my shirt, rubbing her eyes. "Morning," she said, voice raspy from sleep. "Morning. Coffee. Please." We sat at the tiny kitchen table, drinking coffee in silence, but not the awkward kind. The kind that only exists between two people who already understand each other without needing to talk. That morning she said, almost accidentally, like a thought that slipped out, "I'll never do anything to hurt you. You know that." I looked at her, surprised. Didn't expect that. "Why are you saying that?" She shrugged. "I don't know. Just wanted you to know." At the time, I believed her, didn't question it, didn't doubt it. Believed it because she looked me in the eyes and said it with that rare seriousness she only had in important moments. Today, that sentence haunts me. Like someone recorded that moment and keeps hitting replay whenever I get close to forgetting. I wonder when it started. When she stopped believing what she said that morning. When she looked at me and thought, he's not the one I want anymore. Was it gradual? A pile of small disappointments, boring routines, conversations that turned into monologues? Was there one specific day when she woke up and decided the mechanic was more interesting than her husband? Or was something always missing and I just chose not to see it? Did I settle for less while she wanted more? Our happy memories felt so real. But now they feel like a burned photograph. Faded. Stained. Like maybe they were never as solid as I thought. And the worst part is that even knowing what she did, even with the image of her kissing him burned into my mind, I still missed her. Missed us. Missed what I thought we were. Because betrayal doesn't just kill the present. It infects the past. Takes every good memory and throws a shadow over it. Makes you question if anything was real. If any "I love you" was true. If any kiss was meant for you alone. And that hurts more than the kiss I saw. Hurts because it steals the only things I thought were mine. Scene 6. The almost evidences started showing up. A lunch receipt on a day she said she'd eaten at work. A charge from the repair shop at a weird time, when she should have been somewhere else. Always a quick explanation. An excuse that would have made sense if it weren't for everything else piling up. I started testing things, quietly. One day, half an hour before she left saying she was taking the car in real quick, I offered, "If you want, I can drive you there. I can talk to him about my car's checkup too." She hesitated. 1 second. But enough. "No need. It's quick. You're tired. Stay home." I agreed. Sat on the couch, turned the TV on, but didn't watch a thing. I just kept spinning my phone in my hand, feeling like I was pretending everything was fine just so I didn't have to admit my life was slipping off the rails. Another time, checking the credit card bill, I saw 3 charges from the same shop in less than 2 weeks. I asked, casual, "The car acting up again?" "Oh, yeah, some little things, nothing serious." But her tone was too light, too fast. It wasn't proof, but it was enough to kill my sleep. The day at the repair shop had started like any other. Sky kind of overcast, mild temperature, that late afternoon vibe that doesn't promise anything beyond routine. I left work at the usual time, tired, thinking about getting home, taking a shower, sitting on the couch. But first I needed to stop by the shop to pick up the car. It had been there all week to fix a more serious problem. Something in the engine I didn't really understand, but the mechanic said it needed to be handled right away. I went straight there, not in a rush, not thinking about anything except grabbing the car and finally ending the day. When I arrived, the metal gate was half open, like always. I pushed it slowly, hearing that familiar creak. The smell hit me before anything else. Grease mixed with burnt oil, that heavy smell that sticks to your clothes and doesn't come out easily. I walked inside. Same scene as always. Concrete floor stained with tire marks, tools scattered in a corner, an old workbench full of rusty bolts and empty oil cans. In the back, hanging on a column, the old radio tuned to some random station, playing a song I didn't pay attention to. But now, when I close my eyes, I can remember every note of that song, like it got recorded in my head at the exact moment my life stopped making sense. The mechanic came out from the back of the garage, wiping his hands on a dirty rag. He had that calm way about him, soft-spoken, never in a hurry. "Hey, all good. All good." Came to pick up the car. Yeah, it's all ready." Gave it a full check. Fixed the problem. He started explaining what he'd done, showing me some old parts he'd replaced, talking about technical stuff I pretended to understand, so I wouldn't look dumb. I nodded, muttered, right. But my mind was already somewhere else, thinking about traffic, dinner, anything besides that place. At some point in the conversation, without noticing, I set my phone down on the cold, greasy metal counter. The sticky texture clung to the tips of my fingers. I signed the paper he handed me, thanked him, grabbed the car key, I left. Just like that. On the way home, inside the car, I felt that weird emptiness, that feeling like something was missing, but you can't tell what. I tapped my pockets while driving. Nothing. Looked at the seat next to me. Nothing. That's when it hit me. The phone. Shit. I'd left it at the shop. I sighed, annoyed at myself. Stopped at a traffic light, checked the time. I hadn't even been gone 5 minutes. It was literally right around the corner. 10 minutes, tops, to go back, grab the phone, and move on. 10 minutes. If I'd known those 10 minutes would split my life between what it used to be and what I never wanted it to become, I would have left the phone there forever. I'd have bought another one, claimed it got stolen. Anything, but I didn't know. So I turned around. I drove back on autopilot, my head still full of work. Bills, weekend plans, still thinking it was just another silly forgetful moment, a quick errand, nothing more. When I parked again in front of the shop, the gate looked exactly the same, half open, inviting, like nothing had changed in the last few minutes, but something had. I pushed the gate open, same creak, same smell, and the radio, still playing the same song. That was the first detail that cut me. It was like time hadn't moved while I was gone. Like the world had frozen in that instant and I'd come back to find the exact same scene, except worse, except more real. I walked in slowly, no one at the counter. My phone was still there. Same spot, screen off, waiting for me. I was just gonna grab it and leave. That would have been it. End of story. But before picking it up, I heard something. A low sound. Muffled. Coming from the back of the garage. A laugh. And my whole body froze before I even understood why. Because I knew that laugh. My body reacted before my mind could process anything. The laugh came from the back of the garage, behind a car parked there, half hidden by the shadows of the shelves full of old parts. Behind her car. My chest got heavy. Like someone had set a block of cement right on top of my sternum. My breathing stopped. The radio kept playing. Same song, but now it sounded distant, like it was coming from another planet. I could have walked out. I could have grabbed the phone and left, pretending I didn't hear anything. But I didn't. I walked. Slowly. Each step felt like it weighed a ton. My sneakers squeaked on the cement floor, but not enough for them to hear, or maybe they were too into each other to care. When I turned the corner, I saw, and in that second, the world stopped. His hands were on her waist, greasy hands, staining the light blouse I knew was her favorite, because she always complained when I washed it wrong. His fingers squeezing her waist with a familiarity that hurt more than any punch in the face. She was pressed against him. Not a timid hug, not some accident. It was intentional. Intimate. The kind of closeness that doesn't happen for the first time. And then she laughed. That soft, muffled laugh I knew better than my own. The laugh she gave when she was truly happy. When she felt comfortable. when someone made her feel alive. Her face was tilted toward his, eyes closed, breathing heavy. And then it happened. He kissed her. It wasn't a stolen kiss, not a mistake, not a moment of weakness you could explain away later. It was a kiss from two people who'd done it before, many times. A kiss that didn't need permission because it had already been given and received so often it had turned into routine. She kissed him back, without hesitation. Her hands slid up his chest, grabbing his old, dirty shirt like it was the most precious thing in the world. Her body fit into his, in a way I thought only happened with me. I froze. I didn't yell, didn't attack him, didn't make the scene anyone would imagine. I just stood there, like I'd turned into a statue, like someone had hit pause on my life and all I could do was watch. My heart pounded so loud I could hear it in my ears. The sound of the radio mixed with their breathing, with the echo of her laugh, with the distant noise of cars passing outside. Everything felt at the same time too far away and way too close. Time stretched. Every second lasted forever. I saw every detail with painful clarity. The grease stain on her blouse, the way her hair fell to the side when he tilted his head, his hand gripping her waist like he was afraid she'd slip away. But she wasn't trying to slip away. And that's what broke me completely. It wasn't the kiss. It wasn't his hands. It was her surrender. The way she allowed herself to be there, without guilt, without hesitation, without anything that showed she remembered I existed. Then she opened her eyes and saw me. Her body froze instantly. Her eyes widened. Her face drained of color like someone had pulled all the blood out in one go. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. The mechanic took a second longer to realize. When he turned toward me, he still had his hand on her waist, like his brain hadn't caught up to the fact that he'd been caught. His expression was a mix of guilt, shock, and pity. Pity for me. She stepped back, letting go of him, fixing her clothes with this automatic motion, like that would fix anything. "It's not what you're thinking." The sentence came out of her mouth so fast it sounded rehearsed, like she'd imagined this moment and prepared the line. I almost laughed, because if it didn't hurt so much, if my chest wasn't being crushed from the inside, if I hadn't just watched my marriage die quietly behind a car in a dirty garage, I would have laughed at the pathetic audacity of that line. "It's not what you're thinking." As if I were stupid. As if I hadn't just seen it. As if she could erase that image from my memory with one empty, pre-packaged sentence. The mechanic tried to talk, took a step toward me, hands up like he was surrendering. "Man, let me explain. It was a mistake. I didn't let him finish. Not because I yelled or hit him, but because I turned my back. I simply turned around. I walked back to the counter, heavy steps, hearing her voice calling me, sharp, desperate. "Wait, please, listen to me. It's not what it looks like. I can explain." But I didn't stop. I grabbed my phone. The screen was cold, icy in my hand. I ran my thumb over the glass, wiping an imaginary smudge, like that gesture could wipe away what I'd just seen. Her voice came closer behind me. "Please, listen to me." I turned just enough so she could see my face. So she could see I wasn't crying, wasn't yelling, wasn't making a scene. And I said, with a calm I didn't know I had, "That's the only thing I came back for." I left. The sound of my footsteps echoed through the shop. Outside, the world was exactly the same. Cars passing, people walking on the sidewalk, city noise, life happening, but mine had ended. And no one but me knew. The mechanic tried to talk. "Man, let me explain. It was a mistake. I didn't hear the rest. It was like the sound had gone distant, behind a glass wall. Instead of going toward them, I did the opposite. I walked back to the counter, picked up my phone calmly, wiped the screen, like there was something to clean. Her voice calling my name echoed from the back. I turned just enough so she could see me. That's the only thing I came back for. No screaming, no insults, no demand for explanations. That was my way of saying it was over. I left the shop hearing only the sound of my own footsteps. Outside the gate, the world looked normal. Cars passing, city noise, people living their lives without knowing mine had ended silently behind a car. Inside the car, on the way home, I felt like a passenger in my own life. The streetlights turned into streaks across my vision. The ticking of the turn signal sounded like a clock counting the final seconds of a marriage that no longer existed. I got home, and the silence greeted me. I could have smashed something, could have cried, could have torn the photos off the wall, but I didn't. I sat on the couch with the phone in my hand and let my head pound. During the drive, everything started rewinding. I remembered the nights she came home late, the deleted messages, the excuses, the way she dressed up too much to handle car stuff. And the question that hurt the most wasn't, why did she do this? But, why didn't I want to see it earlier? I tried putting the blame on myself. Did I fail? Did I get lazy, lose my spark, forget how to be interesting? But deep down, I knew nothing justified being cheated on in a place where I thought the only thing happening was mechanical work. Hours passed without me noticing. A friend texted me. I typed, "I'm fine," and deleted it. Typed, "Man, I found out something," and deleted it again. In the end, I didn't answer. For a few days, I pulled away from the world, avoided people, conversations, even mirrors. It felt like if I looked too closely, I'd see the word idiot written on my forehead. The days after the confrontation were weird. It wasn't dramatic crying like in movies, wasn't obvious desperation. It was worse. It was emptiness. A cold hole in my chest that didn't hurt in sharp stabs, but constantly, like a wound that never closes. She tried to talk to me, many times. Texted, called, showed up at my door crying. The excuses came wrapped in ready-made lines, like she'd looked up a manual titled, "How to Apologize After Cheating." It was a mistake. It meant nothing. I was confused. I still love you. I listened a couple times. Not because I wanted to believe her, but because part of me still needed to understand. Needed her to give me some explanation that made sense, that gave me some kind of closure. But it never came. One of those times, she showed up at my door. Eyes red, swollen, like she'd spent the whole night crying. Maybe she had. "You won't even let me talk?" she asked, voice trembling, almost breaking. I was leaning against the doorframe, arms crossed, trying to keep some physical and emotional distance. "I've heard enough. But you don't get it. It was a mistake. I don't know what happened to me. You what? Tripped and fell into his mouth?" The sarcasm came out sharper than I meant. She stepped back like I'd hit her. "Please," she whispered, tears running. "I still love you." That sentence cut me. Not because I believed it, but because, in some twisted corner of my mind, I wanted to believe it. Wanted it to be possible to go back, fix it, pretend nothing happened. But we couldn't. "If you really loved me," I said with a calmness I didn't know I had, "you wouldn't have done what you did." I closed the door, and from the other side, I heard her crying echo down the hallway. That's when the anger really showed up. Not explosive anger that makes you break things, but quiet anger, heavy, that follows you all day, wakes you up in the middle of the night, puts thoughts in your head you never imagined having. I started fantasizing about revenge, not physical revenge, symbolic revenge, exposing them, telling her family, her friends, posting everything online, letting the whole world know who she really was, making her feel even a fraction of the humiliation I felt. I pictured the scene. A simple post, direct, no dramatics, just facts. Found out my wife was cheating with the mechanic at the repair shop. Thought you should know who you're dealing with. Add a photo, a screenshot, something concrete. I knew that if I did that, she'd never have the same reputation again. People would look at her differently. Her family would question her. Friends would pull away. She'd carry that stain forever. And part of me wanted that. Wanted her to suffer. Wanted her to understand what she'd done to me. I even opened the social media app. Wrote a whole text. Every line was a calculated stab. Told the whole story from the beginning, in detail. The car, the week at the shop, the forgotten phone, the unexpected return, the muffled laugh, the kiss, the pathetic line she threw at me. I read it 3 times. Each time, my hands shook more. The cursor blinked on the submit button. I could have clicked, just 1 click, 1 second, and the whole world would know. But I didn't. Because in the middle of all that anger, another harder, more annoying question surfaced. And then, after exposing her, after destroying her reputation, after everyone knew, then what? Would I feel better? Would the pain disappear? Would the kiss I saw vanish from my memory? Or would I just become the guy who exposed his wife online? I realized that if I did that, my whole life would turn into that betrayal. Every conversation, every time someone saw me, they'd think about it. I'd be permanently defined by that moment. And as bad as it was, I didn't want that. I didn't want the rest of my life to be the cheating story. I deleted the text, 1 line at a time, letter by letter, like undoing a spell. And when the screen was blank again, I felt a strange relief. Not peace, but something close to a choice. I thought about the mechanic, too. He wasn't innocent. He knew she was married, knew I existed, and still did what he did. I thought about going there. Not to fight, not to make a scene. Just to look him in the eye and ask, why? I even drove near the shop once, parked 2 blocks away, engine running, hands on the wheel, heart beating too fast. I stayed there about 10 minutes, just looking. And then I realized he didn't have an answer. Nothing he said would change anything. I turned the car around and went home. A close friend, practically a brother, noticed I was off. He didn't know the details yet, but he knew something had happened. Invited me out. Even just to walk, he said. I agreed. We walked with no destination for about 20 minutes, in silence. Until he stopped, turned to me, and asked straight, "Man, you disappeared. What happened?" I took a deep breath and told him. The shop, the laugh, the kiss, the lines she threw at me. What I said back. Told him about the anger, the revenge fantasies, the post I almost uploaded. He listened without interrupting. When I finished, he paused a few seconds, then said something simple, but it hit me hard. You don't deserve to carry a guilt that isn't yours. That sentence hit me right in the chest. Up until then, I'd been treating myself like I was a partner in my own humiliation. Like I'd been stupid for loving, for trusting, for not investigating sooner. Like I'd failed some invisible test I didn't know I was taking. But he was right. Loving isn't a mistake. Trusting isn't weakness. What was wrong was what she did, not what I felt. From that day on, the revenge fantasies started losing strength. Not because she didn't deserve consequences, she did. But because I didn't want to waste the rest of my energy trying to control someone else's punishment. I needed to focus on rebuilding myself. And that didn't come from destroying her. It came from putting myself back together. There were still moments when the temptation came back, times when the anger rose and I thought, she's living her life while I'm here suffering. That's not fair. But then I remembered something simple. Her life wasn't my problem anymore. She'd have to deal with her own choices, her own conscience, her own consequences. And me? I'd have to deal with the pain, but also with freedom. The freedom of not carrying the weight of a relationship that had died long before. The freedom to start over without pretending everything was fine. The freedom to choose not to be defined by the worst thing that happened to me. So I made the choice. I chose not to get revenge. Not because she deserved forgiveness, but because I deserved peace. And that was the hardest and most freeing decision I made. A close friend asked me to hang out. He didn't know anything, but he could tell something was off. During the walk, he asked straight up, "Man, you disappeared. What happened?" I took a deep breath, told him everything. The shop, the laugh, the kiss, the line she said, what I answered. He listened quietly. In the end, he said, "You don't deserve to carry guilt that isn't yours." That hit me. Until then, I'd treated myself like I was part of my own humiliation. Like I'd been stupid for loving, for trusting. But loving isn't a mistake. Playing with it is. From that day, the revenge ideas started fading. Not because she didn't deserve it, but because I didn't want to spend the rest of my energy trying to shape other people's punishment. I needed to handle my own. Time passed just enough for the pain to stop being a fire and turn into a sensitive scar. One day, I walked by the shop, not on purpose, but the road took me there. My heart sped up. I thought about turning back, but didn't. I drove past slowly, gate half open, radio on somewhere, playing a different song, the smell of grease still in the air, and for a second, the whole scene came back. Did it hurt? Yeah, but it didn't paralyze me. I saw myself as someone who went through it, not someone stuck in that afternoon. She wasn't part of my routine anymore. Things settled into the crooked shape life likes to take. Paperwork, tough conversations, sleepless nights. But little by little, her name showed up less in my thoughts. That same day, when I got home, I picked up my phone and opened an old chat of ours. It had photos, declarations, future plans. I stared for a few seconds, trying to understand who I was back then. Without any speech or dramatics, I selected everything and deleted it. The click of delete was simple, almost silly. But it carried a weight no one else could measure. I didn't delete it to pretend it never happened. I deleted it to stop reliving a death that had already been signed in that garage, behind a car, with the smell of grease and a muffled laugh. After that, I opened the bedroom window. The air outside was cold, clean, free of any shop smell. The street looked the same, people coming and going, lives happening next to mine. Right there, leaning on the windowsill, I understood something simple but hard to accept. Love doesn't end with a shout. It dies in an unexpected return, in a detail you didn't plan for, in a 10-minute trip to pick up a forgotten phone. But once love dies like that, you have two choices: keep the body or learn to bury it. I chose to bury it. Today, when I hear the metallic clink of a lug wrench, I still remember. I remember her, the mechanic, the kiss, my silence. But along with the memory comes something else. The certainty that I walked out alive from a scene that could have destroyed me completely. I won't say I forgave her entirely. That'd be a lie. But I forgave myself for believing. And in the end, that's the kind of forgiveness that keeps you standing. Because if there's one thing I learned in that garage, it's that putting your heart in the wrong hands hurts.